There you go. What's up my friends, welcome back. As you can see, today I'm not inside of my workshop because today I have a special video for you guys. If you remember, in a few videos of mine I've told you that I've made an entire escape room, which is basically a game inside of a room. And all you see behind me is made with Arduino, with some LCDs, with controllers, with buttons, with potentiometers and more. So today I want to show you how I've built everything that you can see behind me. The problems that I have, the connections, the Arduinos, the communications, the LCD, everything that you see behind me, I want to show you that. So I will open each panel and show you what we have inside. But the most important part for this video is that I want to show you how you could build a business using Arduino. So if you know Arduino, coding and a little bit of electronics, you would be able to mount your own business by doing an escape room. So guys, that's what we will see in this video. You will learn how to build all this. There you go. And now, pay attention, a sound will start. But one of the most important parts for this video are the problems that I had. Because with problems you will learn even more. And believe me, we had a lot of problems with this escape room, with noise, with parasitic capacitance, with the LCDs, with the Arduinos resetting themselves and more. So guys, if you are interested into this topic, stick around, make sure that you subscribe, and let's get started. This episode is sponsored by the PCB manufacturer company JLC PCB. Their main services are the 2-layer PCBs for only $2. Also 4 and 6-layer PCBs, the SMT assembly process where you will get the PCBs with all the components already soldered in place, and also the SMT stencil for soldering SMT components with solder paste. The quality of the PCBs is amazing. I use their services all the time and always get good results. For only $2, you have 5 PCBs of any color that you want. So go to jlcpcb.com, upload the Gerber files of your design and order the PCBs in just a couple of minutes. What's up my friends, welcome back. First of all, before we even start with this video, I don't want to make you a spoiler, so if you are from Barcelona and you want to play this escape room, please don't watch this video, because the cool part of an escape room is for you to not know the story. Because an escape room is a game where you could go with your friends, they will close you in a room like this, and you have to solve a bunch of puzzles in order to get out. You'll have 60 minutes, in this case 60 minutes, to solve all the puzzles of this submarine. You have to find some keys, some codes to open doors, and once you find everything, you could get out. And that is a winning game. So if you want to make this game and you are from Barcelona, please don't watch this video because you'll have a lot of spoilers, because I will show you everything that you have to know in order to win this game, because otherwise I can't explain. Okay, so that being said, let's get started with this video. Okay guys, so everything starts here. We will go step by step. But first of all, if you have an escape room, if you're not an electrician, please get in contact with somebody who knows how to handle this, and they will make you a panel like this one, where you could connect 220 volts high voltage. We are in Spain, so we have 220 volts, and if you are in the United States, maybe it will be 115 volts. But anyway, you can't have 220 volts connected to your panels. So from here you have to connect this to some power supplies that will give you 12 volts or maybe 5 volts, so we could work with the Arduinos. Because if you have high voltage connected to the panels, you can't have people inside here, because that will be an electricity hazard. So if they touch something and it's exposed, they could get injured or even die. So make sure that you don't have high voltage connected to your panels. And this will be during the game, this will be closed, and you have the signal that you can touch this. So from here, in my case, I have some wires connected to this other panel, and inside here I have some relays, and with some buttons, now we will see how we can activate all the panels. So the first thing the people should do is to activate those buttons, and the relays, which can handle 220 volts, will connect the power to all the panels, and the panels are working with some power supplies. Actually, we are using some PC power supplies to get 12 volts and then 5 volts for the Arduinos. So let's make that first test. Okay guys, so when the game starts, everything is dark. So before the people will get inside this room, I have to activate the panels, and they should find the buttons that then will activate the power, the 12 volts voltage that will supply all the panels. So let me just activate the power. This is the 220 volts power. The first one will supply the relays, the second one the panels, and the third one will activate all the LCDs and the Arduinos. So when they enter the room, it will be something like this. Everything is powered off, only the panels are turned on, but the light is still powered off. Right now I'm with the flashlight, so what they should do, they should activate these buttons. And as you can see, now we have a light. The light for the map is turned on, and the main light on the ceiling is also turned on. So that's how the game starts. When you push this button here, the game will start. So the first thing that people should do is to keep searching and find the first key. And using this key, we can go to the first panel and let's see what components we have in that panel and how to use it. Okay, so right now I'm at the first panel, which is called motors, because it's obvious, the first thing that you want to do with a submarine is to get the keys and start the motors. And the mission for this game is to steal this submarine, take it from Rome and go to Barcelona and then to Gibraltar. And that's where the mission will finish. So the first thing that I should do is to put this key here in this panel and start the motors. Okay guys, so this is the first panel and we can start seeing components. First of all, we have a keypad, we have an LCD display and two key-based switches. So this is just a switch inside of a key, so when you turn the key, it will make the contact. So we have two in series, so we have to activate both of these. So first of all, as you can see on the screen, it will say insert key. People have to find this key, and when you activate this, it will ask you for a code, which in this case will be the birthday of the son of the general that drives this submarine. So let's just activate that by inserting the keys. Okay, so I'll turn key 1. Nothing happens. And now we turn key 2. We get a beep, so we have the Arduino below with the buzzer, and now on the screen we can see Código or code. So we have to enter the code, which in this case is 3007, and now pay attention, a sound will start. The sound is very low because I lowered the volume, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to hear me.
The system is now activated. The system is now activated.
Now the volume is even lower, so that won't bother us. And remember, we just activated this first panel with the keys and the code. The next step is to activate this panel. But first I remembered that I wanted to tell you how we use the sounds with the Arduino. For that I'm using a player which is called DF Player, and we have a SD card inside of that player with some MP3 files. Using the Arduino, if you remember on my website I have a tutorial about that, how to use this DF player with the wired communication, so the TX and the RX connections. To that module you can send when to play the file, when to stop the file, which file you want to play, and that is very easy. So when I receive a signal from this panel here, because when you switch the key and the code, this Arduino here will give a 1 to the DF player Arduino, and that Arduino will play the sounds. First the engine sound, then some messages, and then we will have also a boom when you hit a torpedo, and so on. So using a DF player is very easy to control sounds. I'll try to put on the display on your screen to put the DF player, the module with the SD card and an example. And if you want to know how to control this, just go below and you'll find some links to electrums.com where we have a full tutorial on how to use the DF player.
Sugar level set to 15%.
The next panel they have to fix is this one, which is called motors or engines, and you have to fix all these buttons. But there is a trick, you don't have to fix all of this, you have to find some clues inside of the room, and you only have to fix like 7 buttons for each group. Once you fix the buttons, you press this control one, and as you can see the light will turn from red to green because I already placed the buttons in the correct position, and here as well. You hear the beep and now the engines are working. So now we have to calibrate the GPS. So as you can see guys, for this panel we have 5 Arduinos, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Each one has a small LCD control with an I2C communication because it's very easy to control, and we have a bunch of buttons. But not all buttons are connected to the Arduino, just the ones that are important. So we connect a simple wire from each button to the Arduino. I'm using Arduino Mega here, and we have a pull-up defining the code, and when you flip the switch it will be connected to ground. When all the switches are in the correct position, each Arduino will give a 1. So this will give a 1 to this one, this will give a 1 to this one, or high pulse, to this one and to this one. When all the motors are okay, then we send the signal to the other panel here, which is the GPS panel. And now we have to fix the GPS in order to start using the submarine. So guys, as you can see, with just some switches, some Arduino and an LCD, you can create a very simple panel. So if you want, just use this idea, but maybe create your own details. Instead of buttons, maybe you could use, instead of a key button, maybe you could use just a connector, I don't know. But look how easy it is to control a panel with just 5 Arduinos for this example. And by the way, I'm using Arduinos from China, so each Arduino is like $2. So we have $2 for the Arduinos, for each Arduino, so $10. and maybe $2 more for each LCD, so $10 more. All you have to do is to create a panel, which, by the way, there was a mistake making this with metal, because metal will create a lot of static electricity, and that's not good with Arduinos, and we'll talk about that later in the video. And that was the expensive part of the project, because we had to cut this metal with a laser machine, which is very expensive. Anyway, this was a short example of how you could create a panel with some Arduinos, LCD and some buttons. Now let's go to the next panel. Now this panel behind me is kind of the same, but instead of switches we have some keypads, and here we have a map with the entire world. And if you look close to this map you will see some satellites, and each one will have the coordinates for the latitude and longitude. So the people that are playing this game will have to figure out that each coordinate you have to place that in each screen, because we have some cities here, for example New Orleans, we have St. Petersburg, Kansas, Ascension, we have Sydney, Dhaka, El Cairo, we have a bunch of cities all around the world, so we have to place those coordinates with these keypads, which is very easy. So let me just place, you have to place just 4 of those, because the other one are okay. So let me just place the coordinates and then go to the next panel. Okay, so as an example, for this keypad you will use a library for the Arduino that is called keypad.h, and with just 8 pins you can control a 16 buttons keypad. So for example, let's just press the coordinates for New Orleans are 120, 120 and 270. These are not real coordinates, of course, and as you can see, coordinates okay, and this will send the 1 to this one, this to this one, and this to this one, and when this is okay, it will send a message to the other panel here, which is the motion panel. Okay, so in this panel it will ask you for the X, Y and your roots. So people will have to figure out which are the coordinates for the X and Y in the map, and also the routes that you want to follow. So for that we have a map there, so right now let's go and see that map in order to figure out which are the coordinates that you have to put here. So remember guys, that the mission was to go from Rome, from Italy, all the way to Gibraltar. So for that you have these routes here, and also the coordinates. The starting coordinates is this here, and the final one should be this here. So we have to look at the numbers and then type those numbers inside of the LCD screen, and also select only the route that will go from here to here to here. There is only one route that will go from Rome to Gibraltar, so we have to find the number of those routes. So let's just place those in the LCD screen of the navigation panel. Okay, so the X is 390, 120, 1200, this was 12, 24, 76. Okay, now these LCD screens will blink, and that means that you could use these buttons here in order to navigate. Okay, so I just opened this panel here, and prepare yourselves, because this will be a mess, because we had to fix this panel a bunch of times. So you will see a lot of scotch tape in here, because we also have problems, as I told you, with some electrostatic discharges, because this is made out of, the panel is made out of metal, and that with the Arduino is not good. So we have to put a bunch of layers of scotch tape between the Arduinos and the panels, and also we have a lot of wires. So let's take a look. So there you have it, a bunch of wires, and we have each Arduino, these are Arduino Nano, controlling one LCD. You could control 2 LCDs with one Arduino, because you could buy LCDs that have a different slave address, but in this way it's a lot easier, because all you have to do is to upload one code to each Arduino and that's it. So this will control the distance and the navigation system, and we have a bunch of wires, because from here we are connected to basically all the other Arduino inside of the panels, because this will control everything. You will receive signal from the GPS, from the motors, this is the navigations, from the electricity panels and everything. So that's why we have this bunch of wires here. And by the way, you should add these tags here in order to know each wire where will go. As you can see, we have some tags made up with paper. So even this panel is controlling everything. This is a very simple example, because all we have is an Arduino and an LCD, and also a keypad on the other side. So let's just see a different kind of example. For example, here we have some voltmeters, and these are connected to one potentiometer. So each one will be controlled by a potentiometer. So as you can see, when I move it, it will change the voltage. These are working at 12 volts. So we have a voltage divider connected to another Arduino, and that will detect the voltage from this one. So in this case, we have to fix it at exactly a voltage, for example, 3 volts, 5 volts, 5 volts, 2, 7, 3, I think it's something like that. So when you have all this panel, which will have an error during the game, when you have everything set, this will say OK, we'll send an OK to this main panel here, so now the error will be fixed. So this is another example of what you could do with an Arduino. Just using a potentiometer, a voltmeter, which by the way I bought this for only $2 from a Chinese store. So as you can see, we have like 16 voltmeters. And then the same cable that goes to the voltmeter, you connect that to an ADC of the Arduino and measure the voltage. If the voltage is exactly 3 volts, then you give an OK. If it's not, you wait till the user will give you exactly 3 volts. And by the way, in order to know those voltage values, the people that are playing will have to enter this panel here, which is separated from those other ones. So this is the fuse panel. As you can see, we have here the fuse box. This is the label for the fuse box. And during the game you will have an error because you will be hit by a torpedo, and one fuse from here will be burned out. Actually, these are not fuses, but inside of these tubes we have a wire. Only one of these fuses will have a wire. So when you connect it, you will make a connection, and when you disconnect it, the connection will be broken. So only when you place the correct fuse, which will have the wire, because only one fuse will have that wire, you will be able to press this button here, and the voltage value will appear on the screen. And then you take that voltage value and you use it in the other panel. So as you can see, using 2 different panels, you can make a pretty good puzzle, because people will have to search, will have to find that this is the fuse box, you have to change the fuse, you have to get the values, and then use those values in that panel there to fix the error. So I think this is a good example. Okay, so this is the burned fuse. As you can see, we had to burn it a little bit to simulate that, like this is a broken fuse. So during the game you will have that error, you will have to find this one, which is the good one and has a wire from this connector to this one. These are copper connectors. So all you have to do is to take this connector here and place this fuse. So then you have a closed circuit. The Arduino that we have behind will detect that, and then when you press this button you should see the voltage values here on the screen. And by the way, here I'm using a 7-second display instead of using just a normal display, because otherwise we would have a lot of displays. So in this way it's more like a retro look. So you press this button and you should get the values, and then you get that values and you put those in the electronic panel. I've also placed like a green LED here on top to give it a better look. So as you can see, all we need is an Arduino, a display, some fuses that I made with a PCV tube and some copper connectors. The case for the LCD screen is 3D printed, and this entire case is just like, I don't know, a wardrobe, or how this is called, that we painted with red and black, and that's it. With this you can make a puzzle. Inside we have a supply of 12 volts, no, it's 5 volts, and that will supply everything. So that easy is to make just a simple puzzle for your escape room. So let's see more. Okay guys, just let me turn up the volume again so we can hear the sounds, because now maybe we'll see the coolest part of this escape room. Because now we will have a hit by a torpedo, all the lights will go on, will go off, and we'll have here like an alarm in the ceiling, and that will create like a cool effect. So for that we have to turn up the volume, and also I will explain that I'm using some relays connected to this because the light is controlled with 220 volts. So this Arduino, while we are navigating, will detect the position, will activate the alarm, will get the alarm on this panel, and also will turn off the lights and turn on the alarm there. So let's just see that. Okay guys, so now the volume from the sound is turned up. I'm in the other room. So now all I have to do to get to the zone with the enemy is to keep this button pushed. So this will navigate to the zone where we have the enemy, and we will get a torpedo hit. So let's just wait for that and see what will happen. And there you have it.
Impacto enemigo. Detectamos error en el panel de artillería. Se requiere denunciar el panel.
The enemy is preparing the second torpedo. Please prepare the artillery panel.
So as you can see, the light will turn off for 30 seconds and then it will turn back on, but now you have the alarm. Until you don't kill the enemy, the other submarine, the alarm will stay dead. So as you can see, this is a pretty good example with just a relay, an alarm, and the Arduino. When you detect the position, you activate the relay, you deactivate the relay for the light, and you activate the relay for the alarm. And that's it. Okay guys, I know that the sound is awful, I hope that you can hear me well, but this is a very simple example that you could do with an Arduino, an LED, and some acrylic. As you can see, I have a green LED here, which is below some acrylic, and I've printed the design of a radar on a sheet of paper, and all I have to do is to blink this LED and make it fade, and with that I can simulate the position of the enemy. So with this you can make a puzzle. The people that are playing this game will have to pass from polar coordinates to Cartesians, I'm not sure how to spell that. And anyway, all you have to do is to take the radius and the angle, and with that you will pass to the map. So using the map that's behind me, you can create a very simple puzzle with just an Arduino, an LED, and some acrylic and this 3D printed part. I think this is quite awesome. Okay guys, so I had to turn off the sound because with that volume it's awful, and if you want to record something with the microphone, well, you can't. So let me just show you another simple example. This is just a simple PVC tube that will simulate a periscope. We have a hole here with an acrylic, and inside you have a photo with some details for the game and an LED. So when we are in Barcelona and we are at the top of the sea using the controls, this LED will turn on. So look how simple it is to make a puzzle. When the LED is turned on, you can see the photo. And if you're not in Barcelona, the LED will be turned off and you can't see the photo. So in this way, only when you are in Barcelona and you are on the top of the sea at the surface, you can see that photo. Okay, I don't know if you are able to see that, but now the LED is turned on and we have a picture of Barcelona. And there you have a building on Barcelona. You can see the code 8321. So that easy, with that LED you can make a puzzle, and that 8321 code will be used to open this door here for the torpedo room, the torpedo room. So now let's just go there and see what we have in the torpedo room. Okay, so right now we are into the torpedo room, and by the way, the light here is not that good. And first, in order to enter this room, you have to open this door here, which I think it looks pretty good. And in order to open this, you have to enter a code outside, and that code will activate an electromagnet, and this electromagnet is right here. And this will keep in place a metal bar. So when you deactivate the electromagnet, you will be able to open this huge door. So that's how we enter this room. This is the electromagnet, I'm not sure if you can see it. And this will keep in place the metal bar that I will show you right now. There's not enough light here, but this is the metal bar. So when this touches the electromagnet, it will be closed. And when you deactivate the electromagnet with the code, with the keypad and the Arduino, you'll be able to open this like this. So that is a simple mechanism to open and close the door using an electromagnet, which is this component here. This is the electromagnet. And on the outside, we have this 3D printed case with a code. The Arduino will activate a relay, which is connected to 24 volts that will deactivate this electromagnet. The circuit is quite simple and it's very easy to make this. Okay guys, so now let me show you the circuit for the torpedoes. If you want to shoot one torpedo, you have to charge it here, so you have to place it here. These are the torpedoes. These are made once again with PVC tubes and some spray paint to make them look, to make them be heavy and also look like a torpedo, to simulate one. So then you place that torpedo here, and we have a light detector inside with an infrared LED and a photo transistor. So once you place the torpedo, it will detect it and it will give you a code. So you can get this code here, place it in the other panel, and then you will be able to shoot the torpedo. And that will be the next part that I will show you. So all you need here is the Arduino, the LCD screen once again, an infrared sensor, which I will try to put on the screen. It's a very simple module that will send some infrared light, and when it will detect that you have something in front of the detector, well, it will give you a 1 or a digital high. You can detect that with the Arduino and then print a code on the screen, and people could use that code for the next panel. So that's simple. With some false torpedoes, you can place those inside here, this hole, and you can use the detector to get the code. Oh, and by the way, you can also place secret messages like this one here all around the escape room, and in this way it will be harder for people to find the clues and solve the puzzles. This is a great idea. You can place this even with transparent ink, with that fluorescent ink, and maybe use UV light in order to show the messages. That is even cooler. We don't have that here, but I've seen other escape rooms that use this black ink, and with the UV light you can see the written messages. Okay, let's go to the next panel. Okay guys, so this is the last panel we'll see. This is the artillery panel. So we'll use this to shoot a torpedo and kill the enemy. But first we have to reinitialize, restart this whole panel, and for that we use these signals here to get a code. That's not important. So let me just put a code and reset the panel, and then we'll charge the code from the torpedo room here and shoot a torpedo. Once again we have sounds.
Panel artillería reactivado. Introduce coordenadas del enemigo.
So the panel is reset, and now we have to place the coordinates of the enemy. And for that, people should use this map and the coordinates on the radar and pass from polars to Cartesians, and then get the coordinates by following the lines and place those here. So let me just place that and then charge the torpedo code and launch using this, and I will explain you how I made this entire panel. Putting the position of the enemy and also the depth, and to get the depth people should use that panel here, which is called a sonar, and all you have to do is to move up to a potentiometer. Let me just go there. So to get the depth of the enemy, you will use this potentiometer, which is a linear potentiometer. You will connect some headphones here and you have two displays. In one you will get the depth, and the other one you will get a pulse. So we will push a button, you will need a remote, which is not here right now. You will push a button and send a pulse, and exactly at 700 meters in this case, which is the depth of the enemy, you will get a bounce. So when you hear the bounce pulse, that means that you have an enemy there. So you have to get the depth here, which in this case will be 700, and put that number in the other panel, which is the artillery one. So let me just insert the code 2189. We have we have the sound that the torpedo was charged, and as you can see we can use this joystick for the horizontal and this potentiometer here for the vertical axis. So all you have to do is to aim, and when you are exactly in the middle you get green and you can shoot. So let me explain you how I've made this. This is very simple. So as you can see guys, in order to make this panel I have some LEDs here, and with the joystick we can move those LEDs. This is not actually a screen, are just some simple LEDs connected to an Arduino Mega, because we have a lot of LEDs. And depending on the annual grid from this joystick, which could be from 0 to 124, I can map that to turn on each LED. So when we're in this position, the first LED is turned on, then the second, the third, the middle one, which is the green one, and then till the end. So that easy using a potentiometer, which actually inside of this joystick we have a potentiometer. That easy is to make some sort of screen. And when you are exactly in the middle, you can press the button. And there you have it. But I failed. So as you can hear, I haven't hit the enemy. But anyway, just using this potentiometer that you have inside of the joystick, you can map those values in the Arduino and turn one LED or the other one. And when you are exactly in the middle, which is the green LED, you press the button and you kill the enemy, and you activate the sound from the SD card to simulate like you shoot an enemy. So remember, to make this all I have is an plastic acrylic, and below that we have a piece of paper. This is an A3 paper that I've printed with some sort of representation of a scope, and then using the potentiometer inside this joystick, this is a normal PC joystick, I've hooked some wires connected to an Arduino Mega, because in this case we have a lot of LEDs for the horizontal and vertical lines. So we have a bunch of LEDs, and depending on the position of the joystick we'll turn on one or the other one. And then we make an if statement, and if we are in the middle, which is the green LED, and you press this button here, then you will shoot the enemy. As you can see, the LEDs are moving. We have to wait for this to go in the middle. There you go. Now I've hit the enemy.
Confirmamos. Impacto con éxito. Enemigo destruido.
So that's it. Now the radar is not blinking anymore and the alarm turned off. Okay guys, so let's just summarize this entire video. If you want to build your own escape room, your own business, you'll have first to get a room like this one. So you have to pay rent. The second part that you need is to order all the stuff for the mechanical parts. So the panels, the metals, the structures, the drywall, the paint, so that will be another cost that you have to add. And then for the electronics, which is my part, I will recommend you to order a lot of power supplies, because you will need power supplies. In my case, I'm using PC power supplies that will have 12 volts output and also 5 volts and are very useful. All you have to do is to connect those to 220 volts, then to the Arduinos, and that's it. So order power supplies. A lot of LCD screens. These are just like $3, so you have an LCD screen with an I2C communication, so all you need are 2 connections from the Arduino and that's it. Then I also recommend you to buy a lot of Arduinos and a lot of Arduinos Nano, because they are very cheap, just $2, but also Arduino Mega. Why you need a Mega? Because Mega has a lot of pins. So for example, for the motors panel, we had a lot of switches, so if you want to connect like 20 or 30 switches to an Arduino Nano, well, you can't, because you only have 13 digital inputs. So that's why we use an Arduino Mega. Maybe just buy 10 Arduino Megas and maybe like 40 or 50 Arduinos Nano, depending on your escape room. Maybe you are making an escape room with a lot of mechanical stuff and only the small parts of electronics. Okay, so we have power supplies, Arduinos and LCD screens. You can also buy OLED displays or other type of displays. Then you should buy something that you could get interaction. For example, joysticks, potentiometers, keypads, also switches that you have switches with like a button, toggle switches, switches in the form of a key, maybe switches with a fingerprint. You also have switches that are using a magnet with a Hall sensor, so all you have to do is to maybe build your own key, place a magnet inside, and when people will get close to this sensor, it will activate something. So all kind of switches, because those are very cool to use in an escape room. Key switches, magnets, optical switches, normal switches, any type of switch that you can find to use in your escape room. Another important part for an escape room are the relays, because sometimes you will need to control high voltage, like for example, this light above me, which is connected to the mains outlet of 220 volts, but the Arduino is only working at 5 volts. So if you want to connect power, high power, you will use a relay. So you have to connect a small signal from the Arduino to that relay, and the relay will activate the high voltage line. And by that you can turn out lights, the alarm that we have seen before, and so on. And another part that you will need is to close the doors. And for that you could use an electromagnet. You could use maybe a servo or other controls for you to just close the door. Because you will want to close the doors, because that's the idea of an escape room. You have to pass from one room to the other, and by that finishing all the puzzles. So an electromagnet is a very good option for you to close the door. And also, by the way, here in Spain by law, you are obligated to push the panic button, so when you press that button all the doors will open. So with an electromagnet that is very easy to make, because if somebody has a panic or maybe a medical problem, when you press that button all the doors will be open, so people will be able to get out very fast. That's very important. Okay guys, now about those mistakes that I've made. First of all, using metal panels is a huge mistake. Because metal will create a lot of static electricity. Sometimes when you touch one of these panels will give you a small spark, and that's not good because those could burn your Arduino or maybe create errors, reset your LCD or reset your Arduino, and once the game begins you don't want that to happen, because you will have to fix the problems while people are already inside of the room. Another problem that we had, which I don't really recommend, is to connect Arduinos in series. For example, in my case, if you want to finish the entire game, you will have to fix one panel that is connected to the other, that is connected to the other, and those connections are using wires. So we have like thousands of meters of wires here, and each wire is like an antenna that will create a lot of noise. And sometimes, because of those long wires, we have noise and something gets activated without you wanting that. So please don't use a lot of wires and make small panels, like for example the other panel with the fuses. So for example, remember this panel here, which is the fuse panel. Instead of connecting panels in series, so this one will activate the other one and the other one, in this case, if this panel fails, all the other panels will fail, because are connected in series. So till you don't have the high signal from this one, the other one won't be able to move. Until you don't get the high signal from this one, the next one won't be able to move. So if this one fails, you have to stop the entire game, you have to enter, fix the problem, and that's very uncomfortable because people will be here inside of the room. What I recommend you is to make separated games, separated puzzle, like this one. This is just a case with a power supply, and when you fix the problem with the fuses, it will give you a code. Then you can use that code in any other panel, but there is no wired connection between this panel and the other ones. So all you have to do is to get the code and use it in other panel, and if this one fails, maybe with a walkie-talkie we can pass the code, or maybe from the control room you can just press a button and reset only this panel. But in the other case, if you get a fail in any of the panels, you will have to reset the entire panels, and you don't want that, because that means the game will start from the beginning. So guys, I hope that you understand the problem with this series connection of the panels. It's better to make just the one panel, get the information from this one, maybe with an LCD screen, maybe with some sound signals, I don't know. You will have the idea to give the information to the user. And then the user will take that information and pass it to the other panel. So in that way you don't have to use wires, because wires will give you a lot of error, and if one of the panel will fail, the other one will fail as well. So I recommend you to just make small puzzles. Maybe just get a suitcase, place an LCD screen and an Arduino inside, or maybe just a metal box. Actually don't use metal, use wood, and then just place some acrylic on top to make it look better, but metal is not a good idea. So as an example, remember that in order to fix the coordinates with the GPS panel, you first have to fix the motors panel. So you fix all the switches, you press OK, and this panel will automatically activate the GPS panel. Another option, instead of just place a wire between the panels, is maybe on this panel you will place an LCD screen here in the middle and you will get a code. Or maybe with a servo you can open the box and inside you have a key or something. People could get that key or the code, then get to this other panel which will be totally separated from this one, insert that code here and then activate this panel. In this way, if this panel will fail, you can just pass the message with a walkie-talkie to the players, because usually you need a walkie-talkie to send messages to people. So in this way, the user will place the code here and activate the panel, not with wires. And by the way, have in mind that when we have a game here ongoing in this room, you always need a video camera, or at least one or two. In this case we have 3, and also a microphone, because you want to know everything that is happening here in case that somebody has a problem, or maybe the people won't be able to finish the game. So in that case we also have a speaker right here and a microphone, and in the other room, which is the control room, you can send messages to the users, to the people that are playing. In this way we are using a condenser microphone to hear everything inside this room, and also cameras to record everything and make sure that people don't have problems. And also, if they can't finish the game, you can give them some tips, maybe like the coordinates or a code or something. Just look over there, I don't know. I hope that you now have an idea of what you could build using just Arduino, some LEDs, some push buttons, potentiometers, and simple modules. As you can see, you can build an entire business. It's pretty easy, from the electronic part speaking, to build an escape room. You have to worry more about the mechanical part, building the panels, passing the wires, the lights and so on. But with the Arduino part, it's very, very simple. An LCD connected to an Arduino, maybe a potentiometer, maybe some buttons, maybe a joystick, and with that, relate all these modules together with the sound modules, with the LCD screens, with the detectors, with the electromagnets and so on. You can make your own escape room. As you can see, it's not that difficult. So I hope that you like this video, that it will help you and maybe motivate you to make your own escape room. Actually, this business is going quite well. Right now we don't have clients because of the coronavirus, but usually we have a lot of games here. Each day maybe 2 or 3 games, and people are always happy. You see, usually a lot of escape rooms are made with just mechanical parts, maybe some locks, maybe a chain or something to open a box. But in this case we have a lot of electronics, and people usually like that. So if you place an Arduino, they will like it even more. You can control lights, you can control even smoke with a smoke machine. As you can see, the alarm, maybe lasers, I don't know, the more lights you put in your escape room, the better. I also recommend you to use a lot of LEDs. So when you make the order from China or for any other part that you want, also order a lot of blue LEDs, red LEDs and green LEDs. And place those in your escape room, because in that way it will look a lot cooler. Well, it depends. If you make like a vintage one, maybe not that many LEDs. Maybe just buy some small light bulbs. But in this case, this is a submarine. The more LEDs you have, the cooler it will look. And by the way, stuff like this, you can find this in a second-hand store for like $2 or $3. This is a very good place to maybe hide a key. This is another example that you could make without electronics, for people to just find a clue, a key or maybe a code or something written behind this. Anyway, I almost forgot another quick recommendation, another tip that I could give you. If you have a 3D printer, will help you a lot, because a lot of the parts here are 3D printed. These controllers are 3D printed, all the cases for the fuses are 3D printed, the case for the periscope and also the door for the torpedo room is also 3D printed. We have a lot of parts that are 3D printed, so if you have a 3D printer, it will help you a lot. Just print the file, put the LCD screen or the Arduino or the keypad inside, and there you have a puzzle. So guys, this is the end of this video. I hope that you like it, and the most important part, that it will motivate you to make your own business, because as you have seen, just by learning Arduino, you can make all this. So maybe you will motivate to learn more Arduino, and once you know C++, you will know all the others, Java, Python, because they are quite the same. But anyway, this is a very real example of what you could use to build a business using Arduino and programming at the same time. Because just with an Arduino, some LCDs, you can build all this. If you like this video, please consider subscribing and also activate that notification bell so you will be able to see my videos when I post them. And for all my patrons, thank you very much for your support. I can't do this without you because your support is very important for me. I can keep going and making more videos, buy more modules and so on. So thank you very much for your support. And if you are not on my Patreon, consider supporting me on Patreon. You have the link below. And once you are a patron of mine, you will be able to see my videos before I release them on YouTube, enter automatically in the giveaways, get the codes, the files that I share, and everything. You will see that on my Patreon page. Thank you very much once again. So guys, this will be the end of this video. Thanks again and see you later guys.